Hi, I'm back for another installment of Mojave Cunty. It is Friday, July 19, 2024. So, I am at the end of this next little segment. I'm going to go into more depth about what I started talking about yesterday about big money and how they want to basically install a Trojan horse. Don't fall for it, folks. We're riding with Biden. So, anyway, I am going to talk a little bit today about some fun developments, because let's have fun with this, because it's fucking depressing. So there are a growing number of conservatives, current Republicans, who do not support Trump and have been increasingly vocal about it. One of my favorites, George Conway, ex-husband of Skeletor, Kelly Conway. Sorry, I'm not supposed to talk about people's appearances, but really, um, here I am in my underwear. And so anyway, George, we love George. I love George. George started a PAC. He just announced, and he's calling it the Anti-Psychopath PAC. And in George's own words, he started this PAC to raise awareness and to remind voters that Trump is, quote, I gotta read this again, fucking insane. George's PAC paid for 10 of those trucks with the billboards on them, electronic billboards, to drive around the RNC and the airport where Trump was going to be leaving last night. And those billboards said, "Thank you for nominating a felon." So kudos to George. It's freaking awesome. He started it with his own money. 343,300, whatever, 343434, whatever. Anyway, 34 to represent Trump's 34 felony convictions. So, right on, George. And if you don't follow him on social media, I highly suggest it. He's a hoot. He's freaking hilarious. And he is fighting for democracy. At least he appears to be with his own money. So, seems to be one of the good guys. And then also at the RNC Wednesday night, there was a meeting about a half a mile from where the RNC was happening, with a group called Principles First. It was formed in 2019, to basically get the word out about what a danger Trump is to democracy. And it's a group of pro-democracy conservatives. And so they had this meeting or event, whatever. It wasn't a huge event. There was only about 50 people there, but some of the speakers were pretty notable. And Principles First was formed by a Yale-educated attorney, who says the Republican Party is sick. And some of his guests included Charlie Sykes, the former conservative talk radio personality, who publishes The Bulwark, and Joe Walsh, a former congressman, and who voted for Trump in 2016 but has since come out against him and says he will not be voting for him this year. And some of the people in the audience that were interviewed, and I got this from a story out of the Wisconsin Examiner that was posted today online. But some of the audience members were Nikki Haley supporters who have been sort of on their own campaign, like a writing campaign or whatever, even though it's not going to be effective. They're just still trying to get the word out about how Trump's a danger to democracy. And there were also pro-choice Republicans in attendance, and which makes sense, evangelicals who value morality and don't think Trump is the best representative for the party. And and there was also a group there, another PAC called Women for the number 4 US. It was co-founded by a woman named Stephanie Sharp, who was interviewed in the article, and she says there's not enough Republicans to elect Trump on their own. They need the independent people to get him in. And so they are getting the message out that to the independents mostly, that he's bad news. So yeah, some pretty cool efforts as of late. Also, I used to be a very avid viewer and listener of MSNBC. Not so much lately. If you know what's been going on there. If you don't, a lot of their um, personalities or their opinion people, whatever, have been very much on the Biden needs to drop out bandwagon. And there's only been a few consistent voices on that channel. And one of them is Michael Steele, the former RNC director, who is still a registered Republican, but has been very vocal against Trump for quite a while. He voted for Biden in 2020 and says he will do again this year. But I've cut back my consumption of that media source by like 90%. I think they're being influenced by the big donors. Of course, if you look at the ownership of a lot of the media we consume, it's all very conservative owned. So trying to find sources of good reporting lately has been challenging. You can always turn to the nonprofits and things like that. I get a lot of my news lately. Sorry, I'm itchy. I got hay on me. Don't mean to fidget. A lot of the sources I am getting off of like threads lately. Current and former journalists, government officials, people like that. It's out there. You just kind of have to dig for the good info lately, but still on the Biden bandwagon. I got a call yesterday. First time I've been called about a survey, so I took it, and it turned out to be related to my former life as a UAW member. So I was interviewed about my political leanings, and every answer was 100% on the Biden Harris train. So I don't know when the results of that are coming out or if it's an internal poll, but the bulk of the questions were if Biden drops out or if Biden's replaced. It was just like, really? But the White House came out, I think it was this morning, saying that he's going to be back on the campaign trail. He's not going anywhere. He's running. And so hopefully things settle the fuck down about all this. Anyway, but before I get back to the big money and that whole thing, my stupid theory behind that, I found a list of Republicans who opposed Trump in this election. So this is fun. I'm not going to read all of them. There's hundreds of names. If you go onto Wikipedia and you just look for Republicans who oppose Trump, I think, or something, it'll pop up. So I'm just going to run through some of the big names. And notably, before I get into this, 40 out of 44 of Trump's former cabinet members don't support him. And they're either just flat out not supporting him or they've put their support in the Haley camp, which is interesting. But anyway, here's a list of the Republicans who are not supporting Trump this year in the election. And George Bush, former president, former VPs, Mike Pence and Dick Cheney, both. We've got here's some of the cabinet members, former Trump cabinet members: Dan Coates, the former DNI; Mark Esper, the former Secretary of Defense and Secretary of the Army; John Kelly, the former White House Chief of Staff and the former Secretary of Homeland Security; Mick Mulvaney, who was the acting Chief of Staff and the Director of the Office of Management and Budget. Let's see, Richard Spencer, former Secretary of the Navy; John Bolton, former National Security Advisor and former Ambassador to the UN; and Ty Cobb, the former White House Special Counsel. Those are just some of the 40 former cabinet members who are not supporting their former boss in this election. We also have former Secretary of Defense William Cohen, who was also a senator of Maine. These are all Republicans, remind you. John Danforth, former senator of Missouri and former UN ambassador. Chuck Hagel, former Secretary of Defense and former senator from Nebraska. John Lehman, former Secretary of the Navy. So there's also a number of senators, former and current. There are 6 current senators who do not support the president, Republicans. That would be Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, Susan Collins of Maine. Let's hope she sticks to her word. Jerry Morgan of Kansas, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. Again, Lisa. I think she backed Haley, but anyway, on record against Trump. Of course, Mitt Romney from Utah, he's been pretty vocal, and Todd Young of Indiana. There, in addition to these 6 current senators, there are at least a dozen former senators who have voiced that they are not supporting Trump this year. And there's only 4 current House members that have come out on record. That would be David Joyce of Ohio, Thomas Massey of Kentucky, Greg Pence of Indiana, yes, the brother of the former VP, and David Vallado, probably saying it wrong, of California. And they join at least 17 former members of the House, Republican members of the House, who are not voting for Trump this year. And of course, the list goes on and on. I just wanted to get some of the most notables out there, and the list is growing every day, apparently. So, even though they do not support Biden or his policies, I just want to give these folks a shout out for sticking up for democracy and trying to save what's left of it, thanks to the Supreme Court. Excuse me. Okay, so anyway, yesterday I was going into the uber rich and maybe why this whole operation is going on in the media and among a small handful of elite Democrats to get Biden to drop out. And again, the White House came out today with an announcement that he is hitting the trail as soon as he's over COVID, and that Biden is not going anywhere. So good news there. So anyway, so some of these big donors, and the ones that tend to give to the Democrats more than the other side are the tech and the entertainment sectors, and then the ones that tend to give to both are Wall Street, real estate, and pharma. I just looked this up, and just for shits and giggles, the ones that are giving the most to the Republicans, no surprise, oil and manufacturing and Wall Street. So when Biden ran in 2020, he was not my first choice or my third or fourth, but I supported the candidate, and like I intend to this time, of course. And I was afraid that he was going to be too moderate, but he's really surprised me. He's been very progressive. I'm going to guess because of his where he's at in his career. He knows this is it for him. Whether he serves another few months or another 4 years, he's just out of fucks to give. He's paid his dues, but just repeatedly proving himself as a progressive, with the things that he's supported and gotten through. And these big donors, they're just in it for the profits, and all these progressive policies don't fall into what they're they just want to preserve more wealth. And if Biden does maintain his seat and we take back the House and keep the Senate, you're going to see a lot more progressive policies come forth. And among them, which scare the living daylights out of these huge donors and super rich people, stronger labor rights, work equality, benefits, better pay, closing loopholes in the tax system, taxing these rich fuckers what they should be taxed, employee rights, cracking down on price fixing, monopolies, these corporate welfare subsidies, all these things are probably going to get cut way back. They're probably going to be cracking down on, things like contracts and regulations and all the sorts of things that Trump got in trouble for, fudging his books. They all do it. All this fraud is very institutionalized. But anyway, I hope that's what happens. But what I see happening, unfortunately, which happens all the time in politics is it's pendulum. We may want it to swing way one way, but big money does talk, and I fear that you're going to see Biden maybe tone down his rhetoric a little bit and maybe be a little more moderate, um, because he's going to have to probably, which sucks. But anything to get him back in there and to stop all of this talk about him dropping out, it's bullshit. Like I said, it's like they're trying to sneak a Trojan horse in, and I am not going to be able to exhale until that man is officially the candidate. And let's hope it goes smoothly. I'm worried, probably like everybody else is, about that coming up. But anyway, just a deep breath. Let's go into the weekend. Try to have some fun. I've been watching more not news than ever in many years. I get the little bit of information I need here and there, but I am just I'm trying to get it out on here so I can go on and have a nice day. So I hope you go on and have a nice day and a nice weekend, and I will talk to you again next week. Let's hope the weekend isn't insane like last time.